Hello and thanks for stopping by. This is Epic Pinball for DOS 5.0 or newer, developed by Epic Mega Games and released by WizardWorks back in 1994. I seem to recall you could get one table, the Android table, as shareware. Games in the 90s had started to do this a lot. They'd offer you a piece of the game on a disc to try to get you interested enough to sell the other parts of the game. Doom did this back in the day, actually, and it certainly worked for that one. I absolutely love this pinball game. I found this game back in, I believe it was 1995. I was a junior in college, and I think I was home on winter break with some friends. We used to watch movies together all the time, and one of the common things we would do is head to a Blockbuster to rent movies. We were at a Blockbuster Video in Milford, New Hampshire, and back then, Blockbuster, if you've never been to one, they rented movies, they sold snacks, and usually there was something else they were always trying to sell. There was going to be some sort of an impulse buy. This one time we went, they had this large bin of computer games for sale, loaded with this game. These were single-wrapped 3¼ inch floppy disks for a couple of bucks each. I believe there were 3 different discs available, and each had 4 tables. Also, each disc reminded you there were other tables you could buy, as they wanted you to buy all of them. Back then, a friend of mine bought one disc, and I bought another disc, the one with the Deep Sea table on it. I've played some of the other tables, of course, but Deep Sea was always my favorite. This current copy is a CD that I bought off Amazon for, I think it was maybe $10, including shipping. And it has all the tables plus a bonus table, so a total of 13. As a fan, this is totally worth it for me. It doesn't play native in Windows, but it definitely plays in DOSBox. If you don't know what DOSBox is or how to use it, I'm telling you it's worth 15 minutes of your time to search the internet and learn about it. You can play DOS games with it, and if you don't have any games, there are a sizable number of abandoned DOS games out there. You can find them out there in the wild. The companies just don't exist anymore. Give it a look. I think you'll be impressed. And you're welcome. This game in DOSBox runs pretty great. I'm not going to go too much into DOSBox here because it can be configured in so many different ways, but I ran into 2 things for this game that I think are important to note. Set up your DOSBox as usual, but with this game, I find the best adjustment you can make is to adjust the cycles of the game depending on the table you're using. If a table feels like it's running slow, press Ctrl and F12 to up the cycles, or Ctrl and F11 to go down, but I've only ever needed to go up, and maybe just 1 or 2 cycles. After that, when the game's running smooth, it runs pretty great. Also, if your game is dim on screen, if you're having trouble reading the red words at the beginning when the game starts up, open the DOSBox options file and set the scaler to equal none. When I was setting up this recording, because I was now playing on this computer, it was really dim when it started loading up, and I had to correct it, and this was exactly what did it. It works great. Back to the game. This has some solid, classic pinball gameplay, and each of the tables has their own style and flow. This isn't just one table they designed and then 13 different skins thrown on it. All the tables have varied ramp arrangements, they all have different sound effects, and they all have unique music. With a total of 13 tables to choose from, I imagine there's going to be at least one table for everyone. Not one of these tables is branded with any type of a recognizable property. There are no movie or band tie-ins, and there are no long audio voice clips. I think one of the tables has some very tiny voice clips, but barely. It makes up for not having, a band up there or a movie. It makes up for all this with well-detailed tables and sounds and music that just feel really appropriate for the table you're playing. I think for a game that fits on a floppy disk, they did a great job with this. Your scores and your messages will be displayed kind of like you'd see them if you were playing a pinball game from back in that era. They had those large displays with large dots in them. Maybe it was red or yellow, whatever the colors were, and it would really be vibrant. The ball movement is pretty smooth in this one, and the way it scrolls as you play it works really well. Some video pinball games, they put a whole table on a screen at once, while other games will break it up. The ones that divide the tables over multiple screens, the question becomes, how does the system or the game navigate between those 2 screens? What is the transition like exactly when the ball passes that threshold? Is it smooth? Is it choppy? Does the screen quickly flash to black and transition? Alien Crush for the TurboGrafx is a good example of this. It's a great game. But the transition flashes to black as the screen shifts. It works there, and you get used to it. It's a great game. But it does take some getting used to. With Epic Pinball, the transition is reasonably smooth. and it's easy to follow visually. There's no flash of black or anything, it's just a smooth and quick jump, and I find you don't really lose track of the ball in this game. The spacebar will start the game, you hold it to pull back the plunger, and you release it to launch the ball into play. The left and right arrow keys will activate the left and right flippers. If you press the spacebar after the ball is in play, you'll bump the machine. That'll potentially shake the ball around a little bit. You bump it too much and you'll tilt the machine and lose whatever balls you have in play. This is standard pinball functionality, really. That's one of the ways you can sort of nudge the ball to go into a particular direction sometimes. There's a table in here called Enigma. It's pretty interesting. It's really different than the others, I think. It has this large open space in the middle, and as you play, bumpers and objects will just appear, just at random. They'll appear, and suddenly the ball goes off in different directions. It's neat. It's different. The randomness is pretty nice, I think. The Android table was the table they offered as shareware, so you could kind of get that table for free to try to sell the other tables. It was solid. It has a really great left ramp. And also, my favorite here is definitely Deep Sea. Definitely. It's this really well-balanced table. It's got a great color scheme to it. All these blues and underground objects. There's a shark in there. It's really great. It's really balanced. It's got soothing music and sound effects. And I just think that the blue and the underwater imagery is really great. It's definitely my go-to table. And it's got an awesome left side ramp. It's got this sort of wave to it. When you start hitting that ramp consistently, it's awesome. You can change some of the basic options for the tables as you go. They all have the same basic structure. The most important options you could probably select would be the number of pinballs you get per game, and of course the angle of the table. You can have a low angle or a high angle, and that will sort of affect the speed of the ball bouncing around. Well, that's all I have for Epic Pinball for DOS 5.0 or newer. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.